everybody, I'm Luke.
And I'm Larry!
Guardians of Geek. This week is episode 3.
Cult classic.
Our podcast is awesome. We're looking at news, and we're also looking back with the pop-capacitor at a movie called The Gate.
Ooh, it's creepy.
It's not that creepy.
Oh.
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Luke and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Whoa!
What was that?
I am Luke.
I'm Larry.
And thank you for listening again. This is podcast number 3.
We are 3 in already.
It's only it's about February 1st.
Barely.
Yeah, and
it's like barely February.
I know, and we were already 3 podcasts deep.
We have mastered this thing. We can pretty much call it a day now, I think, right?
This is almost a box set. Almost.
at least season 1.
Yeah, season 1.
Yeah.
It's almost a season 1.
Yeah.
All right, how's it going over there?
Pretty good.
Excellent.
Hey, so I need to start off with a little clarification from our last episode.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So our last episode we affectionately titled Snapbox.
Yes.
The actual product I found out later is called a snap case.
Okay, it's a snap case.
Yeah, it's called the snap case. I'll give you a little rundown on it because people, I'm sure, were just really curious about what this product was.
So just to go back, in case you didn't hear the first 2 podcasts, pause now, go back and listen to them, come back.
Yep.
But we were talking about, because we had Logan's run, it was in one of those old style cases that snapped.
That
All
snapped. It makes a snap sound. We thought it was a snap box. It is not. It's a snap case. So a snap case is a type of optical disc packaging used for DVDs and CDs, also known as a paperback case. It's true. It consists of a paperboard flap where the cover is printed paper. We're talking paper here. This is like one step up from a VHS case here. It's held closed by a narrow plastic strip, which had a snap closure. So we were right about the snap part.
Sucked.
And it was terrible. Although it had some nice artwork on the paper cover.
It was the most horrible packaging ever invented, really.
It was not good.
So it's kind of like the beta tape of the VHS versus beta of packaging.
That's right. And it was really exclusively used for the bargain bin type movies, which I think is why Logan's Run was packaged so neatly in
Probably. Now, I have something else I noticed in the last episode. I went back and listened.
Okay.
I only heard it about 50 times before I finally found this out. No, but I looked back at it, and we said the word dropped a lot.
Did we?
Yes, because a lot of times when something new comes out, you say, oh, this just dropped,
That's true.
I swear we said it 12 times in that episode.
We dropped the word drop 12 times?
Everything was dropping, including my pants at one point. Yeah, I know. But everything was dropping. It was oh, this just dropped. This dropped. I'll never forget about this dropping.
Well, if they would stop dropping stuff on us, we could stop saying things are dropping on us. Come on.
Stop dropping.
Stop dropping.
We need some new words. We'll come up with an array of words.
Okay.
This just materialized.
Oh, that's a good one.
Something along that lines.
This just evaporated. That's when it goes away.
Yeah,
that's the opposite. Never mind. I'm not on board yet.
Unevaporated?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So I just made a notice that in case someone said, God, they say you dropped a lot. We did.
We did. Yeah, you win a prize for hearing it that many times if you've picked up on it.
And you know what else just dropped?
What else?
The news.
We have a minute and a half. It's my responsibility to tell the control room and New York that we won't be ready. We'll be ready. In 84 seconds. 15 seconds.
And now the news with Luke and Larry.
Oh, yeah.
What? That gets me so excited about what's dropping this week. I mean, no.
Stop saying drop.
Sorry.
So the news, the first week after we did the last podcast, I was like, uh-oh, there's not a lot going on. But then a lot sort of showed up in the last few days. So tell me, let's break it down a little bit.
It's true. Actually, we've got a lot of news to cover this in this episode here. We'll start with TV. So if you're a fan of the horror genre, then the small screen is going to be where you're going to want to point your eyes in the next year.
Physically point your eyes.
Physically, keep yourself glued right to that small screen because all the horror you want is coming off the big screen onto the small screen, and you're going to love it. Things like The Lost Boys. Lost Boys is being made into a TV series. Why? I don't know. Is there that much story to tell? I guess there is. What else? Oh, Resident Evil was a horror video game.
Isn't there like 15
Yes,
sequels to that?
There certainly is. And now there's going to be a multi-part series on the television set. But the latest announcement, and one that I'm actually kind of excited about, is a new ongoing series from producer, writer Don Mancini, a little horror franchise we like to call Chucky.
Oh, like Child's Play.
We can't call it Child's Play because Child's Play is getting a reboot in the theaters. So they can't call it Child's Play.
Right.
For TV, the series is going to be called Chucky.
First off, are you drunk?
A little bit.
So you really came in here it's like someone just wound you up.
I know, I'm so excited. Chucky's
So they're
gonna be on
making
TV.
Chucky into I have to say I've seen some of the sequels.
Yes.
Recently, and they're awful.
They're not so good.
No,
I really, really enjoy the first three installments of the Chucky, the Child's Play 1, 2, and 3. I thought were really fun. And then it quickly devolved into just corny crap.
But it's not even good, not even well done.
No, it's really not.
Like a really B level company's taking it over. It's just not great.
Yeah. No, the last two, Cult of Chucky and what was the other one called? The very last one.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
Yes, that's it's starring Chucky. Yeah. So the last two actually were not so bad, but I'm really curious to see what the originator of this franchise is going to do with the TV show, because it's going to be very different from what they're going to do on the big screen. So for me, this is kind of exciting. So there's some horror news for you. What else do we have? Oh, wait, there's one more bit of horror news, and this might be very genre specific, and I don't know how many of you are actually going to have known about this, but there was a little TV show that aired on Sci-Fi, I believe, called Channel Zero, and it was an anthology horror show, and it ran for 4 seasons, each season having 6 episodes, and it was based on the YouTube videos called Creepypasta.
Okay.
And it was fantastic. It was literally the best horror TV show on the air, I think probably ever. It was really creepy and production value was really high. Anyway, it's been canceled, so that's it.
So don't even start it. Well, I watched the trailer for it because I'd heard of it, but I didn't really even know where it was. There's so many streaming services now that it's hard to figure out where is this airing. And by the way, Apple's starting a new streaming service. I just read that today. Yeah. So, so I didn't know where it was. So I watched the trailer. It looked really cool.
It's really cool. It is streaming on a horror site called Shudder, if you have that. But if you can find it, you should really give it a chance because it's fantastic. And there are now only 4 seasons that you have to watch. There won't be any more.
Is it like anthology or is it?
It is. Yeah, they're all different.
I'm gonna check it out then.
Yeah, they're not connected in any way, but they're really, really good. So I'm a little sad about that. I'm happy about Chucky, sad about the Channel Zero. What other piece of TV news? The new trailer for S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has dropped.
Yes!
And so there's that.
Yeah, I'm a big S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. It's gotten better over the years. It started off the first season was okay, this is cool. Then the second season was and then it sort of it goes in waves, right? That show. I think the problem is with any show kind of like that's on regular TV is they just don't have the budget to do the really cool special effects. Yeah. So often they sort of avoid doing things that would really cause for them to actually put some money into the budget. Right. Like have you ever seen what's the one about tomorrow? It's the DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes.
They always have to be in some sort of situation where they can't use their powers because is it Firestorm in it? Yeah, they're never together, so they can never use the power. So they can't.
It's cheaper that way.
Yeah, for sure. They just want them to dress up like they're in the 70s and things. Exactly. It's just kind of weird.
And now the problem is they have to actually compete with the Marvel movies that are on the screen, and that's almost impossible to do.
And this one's coming out in the summer. It's supposed to come out in January. They moved it to the summer, and I think that's because it's going to be after the Avengers movie, so they don't have to deal with that whole thing. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with it when it comes back.
Yeah, it may have a bigger audience in the summer when people are home. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be good. It'll be a good summer watch for sure. You got that and Big Brother. You got your summer set.
Exactly. That's all you need. So that's what we've got right now for TV. Let's move over to the movie news. Well, of course, it's awards season right now. So we could probably talk about the awards nominations and winners for the next 2 months.
It's exhausting.
It is. It's so hard to keep up with them. But we've got, of course, the Oscar nominations are all out, and the SAG Awards have actually happened at this point. So there have been some winners there. And the interesting thing about the SAG Awards, I believe, are the are the best predictors for the Oscars because the Actors Guild has the most voting members when it comes to the Oscars. So the people that the SAG members vote for in the SAG Awards tend to also go on to win the Oscars. So the interesting thing this time was that the SAG Awards gave their ensemble award to Black Panther, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean Black Panther may have a better shot at the Oscar? I don't know.
A lot of times when a movie comes out too early in the year, it sort of gets overlooked.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of Oscar talk for it, but I thought it's going to kind of drift away because you had the Avengers come out after it and everything else. And it stuck around. Like, people still love this movie, and it was great that it was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Which actually surprised me because that's the first superhero movie ever to be nominated, right?
It is. I believe so, yeah. So, I mean, even if it doesn't win...
Was Blank Man nominated?
Yes.
With Damon Wayans? I can't even say that with a straight face.
If it wasn't, it was robbed. Because really, that's quality filmmaking right there. So that happened.
The other thing I want to mention too is Adam Driver was nominated. Like, he'll never be nominated for Star Wars, but which I think he does play a really interesting character with Kylo Ren. But he was nominated for Black Klansman, which is an excellent movie if you haven't seen it.
Right. Yeah. There are a lot of really worthy nominations out there this year, so it's going to be an interesting awards season. So it's just kicking off. We'll update you more as the awards start
on the red carpet.
Start rolling out.
Larry on the red carpet.
What else do we have here? Whoa, there's an announcement that a new RoboCOP movie is happening. I'm personally pretty excited about this too. Maybe not so much as Chucky, but I'm pretty excited about RoboCOP. And apparently they're going to sort of erase all of the RoboCop sequels, the subpar RoboCop sequels, and be a direct sequel to the original 1980s film,
right?
Which is an interesting new trend.
Well, I always found the character of RoboCop not that intriguing.
No.
Like, it's kind of cool looking, but because they did a series too. Remember we had a friend that worked on the series.
That's right, yes.
DJ.
Yes,
worked on that series as well because it was shot in Canada. Yep. But it was like, they had all these sequels, and it was just, I don't know. He's not a dynamic character to me.
Right.
Like, I can't really get behind RoboCop. But
yeah. And they did reboot the series on the big screen already once.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad movie. It was a bit darker, well, quite a bit darker. But so it's going to be interesting to see. But I think what's interesting about this is that they're going back to erasing all of the sequels, the same thing that they did with Halloween.
Right.
Pretended all of those awful sequels didn't exist and making a direct sequel to the original.
Well, apparently the script that they're using is a script that they were going to use that got thrown away.
Oh, interesting.
So, and they went a whole different direction, and so that they're bringing this script back, and apparently it's a really weird, and it actually jumps into the future, like 30 years or something, which is perfect because it is 30 years since the other.
Well, yeah.
Will Peter Weller be RoboCop?
I don't know. I would hope so.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
But does RoboCop age?
Well, that's the big question.
Now that I think about it, I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either. But yeah, he's got to be in it somehow.
Is Peter Weller still alive?
Well, in RoboCop form, he is.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
He may still be part of that.
That is true.
And speaking of new movies that are coming out, we've got the Funko Pop movie. Of course, there's going to be a movie about Funko Pop. If there's a franchise, if there's a $1 billion toy line out there, there's going to be a movie attached to it. Lego's done it. Now Funko.
Now, I'm a huge Pop fan, but the thing with Lego is Lego's the kind of, like, it's an imaginary, I don't know if it's imaginary, but it's a toy that uses your imagination, I guess I'm trying to say, as a kid, and you played with it and you built with it. So it seems to me there's a lot more to do with Lego.
Yes.
Funko is basically like a glorified bobblehead, really. Like,
it really is.
Which is cool. Like, I mean, it sits on your shelf. It looks awesome. I don't know. It's going to be weird. And I saw that in the sort of the press release, they said that like some of the characters will be Wonder Woman, the Care Bears, Hellboy, Deadpool, Hello Kitty, Harley Quinn, Darth Vader, My Little Pony. So very much like Lego, where they've taken all these different like pop culture sort of like areas and they've mixed them together.
That's exactly what it sounds like. They've got. It's going to be hard to separate this from the Lego movies. I think there's going to be a lot of comparison. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
And I think the difference between as well is that Lego's sort of nostalgic, whereas Funko Pops have no nostalgia to them other than they're doing nostalgic things.
Yes.
But the toy itself is not, I don't even know if it's classified as a toy, but it's not nostalgic.
No.
So there's nothing
not yet.
No.
I don't know that there's enough. I mean, people collect it and love it. I don't know that there'd be enough interest to have people come to a theater and pay money to see those characters now move on a screen.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems a lot like the Lego movie to me, but I mean, I'll just keep buying Funkos.
Well,
so
exactly.
Just keep making stuff that I like. But.
But you know what people will go see?
What's that?
The Breaking Bad movie. Oh, I feel like people will go see this.
I think I will see it.
Of course.
For sure. I love Breaking Bad, and I love the, what's the other show?
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul, which is fantastic. Which I think, do you watch Better Call Saul? I feel like, and this is not really a spoiler, but every season starts with him in the now,
Yes.
and then goes back to the past to show how he became Saul.
Yes.
But I feel like in that show that there's going to be a season where it's all now.
I feel like that's true. I think they're working up to that.
Yeah, I think that's where they're, because it seems like the beginning he's getting longer and longer of what's happening, and there's more things to sort of see. So
yeah, so this is it'll be interesting to see if Saul is part of this thing, and there's speculation about what this movie is going to be, and what they're thinking is that it's going to be Jesse Pinkman's story after the Breaking Bad series ended. So maybe a Jesse Pinkman movie. Who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
With probably flashbacks involved.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
So there's some of the new movies. So the other thing I wanted to mention, if you have been in in your local video rental establishment lately, you may have seen something a little confusing on the shelves where they're normally selling Blu-rays. You may have noticed that a couple of those Blu-rays are packaged in old VHS boxes or what look like VHS boxes. This is a new trend. There are a couple. There's like I've seen Jaws and Breakfast Club, I believe.
Yep, Fast Times. I've seen. Yeah, E.T. Fletch.
Fletch, yes,
yeah.
Fletch.
So yeah, they look like it's a box, but they look exactly like a VHS.
Yes, but they're the plastic VHS boxes, but they open and close. They look, once you put them on your shelf, they will look like VHS boxes. So it's a cool idea. It's retro and kind of neat, but once you've got it on your shelf, it's going to take up a lot of space, and it's not going to look like anything.
Which was the problem with the VHSs in the first place.
There was a reason we got rid of those things.
It's kind of cool. In the States, there's like, those are the ones that I've seen in Walmart here in Canada, but in the States, I was looking at a list that they have. They have like First Blood, The Crow, Young Guns, Highlander, Dirty Dancing, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, Meatballs. So they have Total Recall. So they have different ones in the States than they have here, but it's a Walmart initiative. Like Walmart started it, and they're doing it with another company, Lionsgate.
Interesting.
So it's a neat idea. I mean, they're trying to make everything retro, like sort of that retro thing coming back. I have looked at them. I had one in my hand, almost bought it. But the problem, again, like you're saying, like what happens is when I buy it, it's going to sit on my shelf. Unless you're displaying it, it's just now you just got a double spine.
Well, that's the whole thing. And I mean, people are going towards streaming and getting rid of all of their hard copies, so they don't have space for this stuff anymore. But this takes up a ton of space.
Yeah,
it looks really cool, and retro is always awesome.
Yeah,
but I probably think we could go to like the thrift store and buy some real VHS tapes for a lot less.
I don't know. It's a very cool. I love the packaging.
Yeah.
It looks wild. Again, like it's just another thing you're spending money on, and is it worth it? I don't think so.
I don't think it's going to last.
I'm sure someone's going to collect them all.
Of course they will. But not us.
Yeah, not me.
Not this one.
For now.
Until next week. Okay, so the last bit of movie news that I wanted to talk about, and I can't talk very much about it because I really don't know much about it, is this the recent release of Dragon Ball Super Broly. Or is it Broly? I don't even know.
I don't know.
But it's gotten a huge release. It was released in IMAX theaters, and I didn't even realize that Dragon Ball was still a thing, or it was as big as it is, but apparently it's huge.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I've seen the characters a million times. I've seen people do cosplay of the characters a million times. I don't know much about it, but it's close to 100 million. It's almost hit. I might have hit that mark by now.
That's crazy.
That's nuts for a movie that I really don't know much about.
No, I watched a couple of the trailers because I thought, maybe I should check this out. So I watched a couple of the trailers, and it's amazing to look at. Like visually, it's really cool. I had absolutely no idea what anybody was talking about.
Yeah, I watched one too. I had no clue what was going on in it. Apparently, it's the third highest grossing anime movie of all time, too.
Really?
It's so weird. I saw nothing I've seen movies that have been pushed heavily by studios not make $100 million.
That's true. And this one had like zero promotion. It just like ended up in the theater in the IMAX screen, and now it's like breaking the bank.
Look at Happy Time Murders.
I'd prefer not to, thank you.
So stupid.
So that's our movie news for this week. We do have one other bit of news here, and I'm going to let Matt talk about this one because this one just upsets me to no end.
Okay, so people probably heard about Bill Maher. Stan Lee passed away, and Bill Maher did sort of a blog basically saying that people need to grow up. People went at him. He came back and he went on a show and he did a whole tirade on it and basically belittled everybody who's ever still reads comics or collects toys, and it was pretty bad. And he said that people are stuck in an everlasting childhood. Bragging that you're all about the Marvel Universe is like boasting that your mother still pins mittens on your sleeves.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, thanks for the dated reference, first of all, Bill Maher. But
And my pinned mittens are quite useful. Thank you very much.
like, I see where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, let's have a little fun in our lives. Like, we only live once.
And my question is, has he spent any time actually reading a comic book? Like, does he know how deep and like mature a lot of the storylines are? I don't think he does.
He specifically says in it that they're the right. It's not an author. Like they're not written, and you should be reading. Like, and he named all these big authors, and he put Shakespeare in there. It was Bill Maher is. He just comes out like I appreciate him, but he's kind of old school now.
Yeah.
But the things I feel like that he was for before, he's now he's just gotten grumpy.
Yes.
Like you know what I mean?
He literally is. Yeah, he is literally the guy. If you walked up to his house with a comic book at his front door, he would bring out his shotgun and, get off my lawn with that comic book.
He just seems like the kind of guy that just would be mean.
He would, yes.
Like, he's a mean-spirited kind of guy. Like, I don't know. I don't find him that funny. I used to. I used to think he was pretty funny and cutting edge, but then now I watch, and not just because of this. Like, I've watched his show, and it's like, I just find sometimes it's just his opinions are way out there.
Yeah, not quite with the times.
Totally, he can have his opinion, but he's missing out on a whole world of
He
cool
really
stuff.
is. I feel badly for him for not experiencing the wonder of comics.
Yeah, get him.
We got him.
I do have a pitchfork here, by the way. I can get it at any time.
So, Loop, wondering if it might be time to take a ride back to the olden days. What do you think?
I think it'd be good. It's a little cold out, but we'll get out there. Get your
bundle
jacket
up.
on. Get your jacket on. Here we go. That sounded exactly like a coat. All right, let's walk through here through the snow here. Yeah.
Getting in. Yeah. Don't forget your seatbelt. Okay.
88 miles per hour!
It is the pop capacitor, which means
we're running. We're running.
Look at us run.
Come on.
We have gone back in time to look at a movie or a TV show or something that's from the past, and we're going to sort of re-review it and tell you whether it still stands up.
Yes, that's true. Some things do, some things don't. This time, we've gone back in honor of the release date for the next Stranger Things series, which I'm pretty stoked about. I thought we should go back and look at some of the influences, some of the movies that maybe influenced this show. So the one we're looking at this time, Loop, is called The Gate.
The Gate.
There is a passageway to the most evil place you can imagine. A gate behind which the demons wait to take back what was once theirs. And now, someone has opened the gate.
Don't open it!
Too late, it's already open.
You saw like an evil gate. Don't open it.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it being an evil gate, is to keep you away from it. I mean, gates are generally something that, are set up to keep you away from something else. If it's evil, that's just another level of keep away.
I will say there was not an actual physical gate.
No, there
in
really
the movie,
wasn't. It was more of a hole.
So tell me what this movie's about.
So this movie it's an 80s, a very solidly 80s horror movie. It was actually made as a like a family horror movie, like marketed towards to kids, which is a little bit
kind
different.
of Goonies-esque.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit Goonies in the horror genre. So essentially, it's a group of kids who inadvertently find old texts and were able to read it and literally open the gate to hell. And,
but first, the gate was actually it's a tree in the yard.
Yes.
That's a company pulled out of the ground and this hole was underneath of it.
That's right. Sorry. Yes, that is true. So they didn't actually open the gate. Some workers came and opened the gate for them.
Union 367 came by and they opened the gate.
They weren't allowed to touch the tree until the union workers left. So now the gate is open. They read the words, and all of a sudden, all these little creepy little demon dudes come out and start chomping on things, and
who look like they're from like a Sinbad movie from the 70s.
They are. But so the whole point of this movie is to get the gate closed again. But it's kids doing it, and that's really cool because kids are smart.
So this movie is considered a cult classic, right?
It is. It is considered a cult classic. And what's interesting about it is that they did it for almost no money. The budget was super small, but they went all out with the technology that they had at the time. So a lot of the miniatures that they used, so all of these little demon guys are like a foot tall, but they're all instead of using stop motion animation or any sort of animation, they're actually people in rubber suits.
Right.
That they've used forced perspective and all these kinds of camera tricks to make them interact with full-size kids.
Right.
And they did a really good job for the 80s and for the amount of money that they had. It's really impressive to see, what they could do with the technology that they had and no computers.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is just how sort of cutting edge it was for what they were doing at the time, and it's also really kind of goofy.
It's a Canadian production. It's a Canadian/American, I think, production.
Yes.
But there's a lot of Canadian references in it. There's a part where one of the kids is in his room, and first he's got a Killer Dwarves patch on his back, which I noticed right away. I'm like, okay, that's Canadian.
Yep.
And then he's in his room, and there's like a platinum blonde poster in his room, and I'm like, okay, this is the most Canadian as you can get.
It's true.
In this,
I think the entire cast was Canadian. I think most of the crew was Canadian as well. So I think it is technically considered a Canadian film.
Yeah.
But one of the other interesting things about it was that it happened to open in theaters on the same weekend as Ishtar.
Oh, nice.
And Ishtar went on to become one of the most reviled movies in film history. and the Gate actually beat it in the box office.
Yeah, I think the Gate doubled its money, didn't it?
It did really well. So it has that going for it.
There's a few things in it that were some holes.
Yeah.
I thought, like the fact that the one kid, so they open this demon gate. And instantly, before even really anything had happened, like any sort of sense of there'd be any demons, one kid decided there was demons in this hole, and was very serious about it. And then he just happened to have this album that had the perfect liner notes, all about how to get rid of demons.
That's right. So my question is, why would a musical band who knows this much about demonology not go on to become demonologists or make some money off of this whole, I can get rid of your demons for you?
It was really weird. I'm like, why is that in the liner notes of this album? It's it's probably a real group too, I'm sure.
Well, the name of the group is Sacrifice.
Right.
And there is actually a group called Sacrifice that uses the same font.
Right.
So the album itself is not real, but the band that they copied from is real. So that was interesting. But the other thing that is kind of weird about this movie is that because it was marketed to kids and young people, you'd think that it would be pretty tame as far as gore and graphic depictions of violence. It is not. There's some pretty disturbing stuff that happens in this movie. I won't give it away in case you want to see it, and you really should if you haven't.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. But it's if it were released today, it would have at least a PG-13
for sure.
rating. And I'm not sure how they got away with marketing it to kids back in the day. But back in the 80s, it didn't matter. Kids could go see whatever they wanted, and everybody would be just fine. We rode in the front seat of our car with no seatbelt on, so why couldn't we go see this?
Or laid in the back window of the car.
Exactly. Yeah. We slid along the streets holding onto the bumper, for goodness sake. Come on.
Well, there's a couple things I want to mention, too, with it, is the cover is one of those, I'd never seen this movie. I thought I had, because I'd seen a lot of horror movies in the 80s. I've never seen it, but the cover I definitely know. And it's funny because when you went to the video store in the 80s, which is a lot different than now, obviously because it's all digital and all whatever, but you'd see the same boxes at the video store every time you go. And there's certain covers of movies that are iconic.
Yes.
And this one I think kind of is. As soon as you showed me the cover, I'm like, I totally have seen this movie a million times.
Yeah, but we haven't actually seen the movie.
Yeah.
Nobody's actually seen the movie. They have seen the cover. Probably have posters on the wall not having seen the movie. Yeah, the cover artwork is really neat. But yeah, so it's a really interesting slice of 1980s horror, just based on the special effects and the fact that it is not really for kids, but was marketed to kids. It's a really cool sign of the times.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Evil Dead.
Yes,
it sort of has the same pacing as Evil Dead.
Yes.
It starts out and then it's with everybody, you kind of meet all the characters, and then people start to turn, and then there's like this a lot, like, and then it's just like keeps ramping up with more and more weird sort of special effects. But there's some cool special effects in there, like just imaginative, like sort of ideas. Like there's a part where one of the demon's arms gets caught in the door and it falls on the floor, but then the demon's arm turns into all these little like slugs, which all sort of like scurry underneath the door
instantly.
Like, just like kind of weird ideas, like and things that were visually that were really kind of cool in it.
Yeah.
But I gotta talk about for a second the opening credits.
Yes.
Is that not Stranger Things?
It was exactly straight. This is what I mean. This is why I wanted to choose this film, because I thought this is where the Duffer Brothers got their inspiration.
Yeah.
So
yet I've never seen them reference it. Like I've seen people reference it as a possible like movie that would have inspired Stranger Things, but I've never heard them say it.
No.
But because I looked through a bunch of articles, because I'm like, they must have, because that opener is like Stranger Things to the T.
Yeah, and the music, the music too, is very, very Stranger Things. I feel like it's so much part of Stranger Things that if they talk about it, somebody will look back and say, yeah, I think you copied that a little too closely.
That's a problem when you do homages to things, because it's like you could basically be copying something like direct. I mean, it wasn't like. It was pretty close. It's got the red. It had the red font. And like, there was a lot of things, and the music even sort of sounded like it as well.
It did. It really. I mean, it is a throwback. It makes Stranger Things even more nostalgic after you've seen this, because you're like, wow, that really is an '80s show that they're producing right now. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth seeing. It's definitely, if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of the '80s, it is a great mashup of the two.
So I guess the question is, which we didn't really answer last time. Maybe we did. In the last podcast, but does it hold up?
I think it holds up.
Yeah.
Because neither of us had ever seen it before, so it's not like we grew up with this movie. So if we grew up with this movie, we would automatically say, yeah, it's still great because I remember it from my youth. But neither of us had ever seen it. I really enjoyed watching it. Did you enjoy watching it?
Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty well done for its time.
Yeah.
You can see where they cut corners here and there, obviously, but that's like all those movies at that time. Like there's always like you could tell the budgets weren't great for some of those. Yeah. Definitely something that probably was direct to video. Maybe I did go to the theaters, but it seemed like a direct to video release.
Yes, it did.
But I thought it was great. I thought it was really good.
I absolutely think it holds up. And in fact, there's at some of the Comic-Cons that pop up through the year, there's actually the Gate exhibit that travels around.
Oh, really?
Has props from the show and posters and scripts and that sort of thing. It's a whole sort of exhibition of the Gate. It's become that big of a cult phenomenon.
And the main kid in it's played by
Stephen Dorff.
Yeah, which is weird seeing him as a kid.
Yes, it's really strange. And one of the other girls in it is Jennifer Irwin, who, if you watch the Goldbergs now, it plays the neighbor's mother in the
really?
Goldbergs.
That's hilarious.
So she's still working, and so it's got some faces that you might remember and recall. But yeah, I think it totally holds up. I think you should.
I thought it held up as well. I thought I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Excellent.
All right, well, it looks like that's the end of another episode of Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek. I want to thank Jack 1023 for providing us the microphones to talk on.
Excellent. We couldn't really do this without those. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again real soon.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.